Let's talk about battle for control over the United States Senate. Republicans hold a 53-47 majority. I know that says 45 because there are 45 elected Democrats and there are 2 independents who caucus with the Democrats. In order to take control of the Senate chamber, Democrats would have to overcome this number. So they'd have to win a net gain of 4 seats, which means they could lose 1 and hold 5, or defend all of theirs and flip 4, or hell, they could lose 2 and flip 6. So here's our map of how this looks. These are the Senate battleground states, right? Starting with Minnesota, which is likely Democrat, New Hampshire, North Carolina, Georgia, which are lean Democrat, Maine and Michigan, which are toss-ups right now, Ohio, Texas, Alaska, and Iowa, which lean Republican, Nebraska, Montana, and Florida, which are likely Republican. But these are all possibly in play. Democrats need to flip the ones looking like Democrats' absolute best chance right now, and that is actually North Carolina. It's a Republican state, but it's leaning Democrat like right now, largely to do with the strength of the Democratic nominee, Roy Cooper. The former 2-term governor of the state comes with a penchant for winning elections. Since he was elected to the North Carolina House of Representatives in 1986, he's not lost a single election in 40 years. Now, he's facing off against the former Republican National Committee chairman, Michael Whatley. Let's look at a broad look at what the polling is looking like in this state. We are not putting individual poll numbers on here because it's still early in the race, and Cooper enjoys high name ID, so it's not surprising that he's ahead. He was a governor. He was the attorney general. Plus, there are a lot of undecideds in these polls, many of whom may end up voting Republican. But in polling over the last few months, as you can see, these are the dates going back all the way to March, Cooper is in the lead, and individually these polls may not mean much, but taken together, they give you some sense of how the race is shaping up. The only true poll, however, is the one on November the 3rd. Joining me now is Roy Cooper. He's the former governor of North Carolina. He's the Democrats' best chance to flip the United States Senate. Governor, good to see you again. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks, Ali. Glad to be with you.
As I said, the numbers, we can dwell in the numbers for a while, unimportant to you because you have got to win independent and moderate voters, which, and some Republicans, by the way, which you have done in all of your recent elections, right? You have run in elections where Donald Trump has won, where statewide other Republicans have won, and you've won. So you've got some way of doing it, but you're also running in perhaps the most polarized election that you've seen yet.
Well, what you see now is that people know that their paychecks are not keeping up with the cost of living right now. That's why I've been on my Make Stuff Cost Less tour across North Carolina, hearing from people about how much it's costing them just to live. But when you're looking at polling and you're looking at United States Senate races in North Carolina, you have to look at our history. In almost 40 years, we've only elected 2 Democrats in North Carolina to the United States Senate. Our last one was 2008, and in that year, North Carolina went for Barack Obama. And the pattern that we've seen in the past is that the Democrat, and we've had some great ones running, but they've been ahead until they weren't. And looking at that polling, a lot of people do know me, and they don't know my opponent, and I don't have more than 50% in most of those polls. So we want people asked me the other day what was my biggest fear, and I said is that people take this race for granted. Mm-hmm. If we don't win North Carolina, we are not going to flip the Senate. We have to flip the Senate right now. These are not ordinary times, and I want people to help us out. You can go to roycooper.com. We're working on our end of quarter fundraising deadline now because we know that the other side is going to have hundreds of millions of dollars with these outside PACs. We've got 2 of them right now that have already said they're going to spend almost $100 million in the last 12 weeks of this campaign to try to keep us from flipping this seat. We cannot let that happen. We have to win.
If you ask 10 people on the street anywhere here in New York or where you are in North Carolina what the most important issues are facing them come November, you probably get 12 answers out of 10 people. But you've really leaned into affordability, which, by the way, Donald Trump did in 2024, and he won. And Zohran Mamdani did in 2025, and he won. People start to get worried that the politician speaks about affordability and then you elect them, and somehow your prices go up. What's the argument you're using in North Carolina about the influence that you can use and the experience you have that actually will affect people around things that matter to them?
Well, this administration promised that this would be the day one job to lower costs for people. And not only have they not done that, they've made it a lot worse. And my opponent, Michael Whatley, was a cheerleader for the one big, beautiful bill that ripped away health care from so many North Carolinians. And we haven't seen it all yet because the Medicaid cuts are going to occur after the election. And we just expanded Medicaid in North Carolina. So we have 725,000 more people who have health insurance. The current senator now, Thom Tillis, the Republican, stood up and voted against the one big beautiful bill because he said, I don't know what I would tell my constituents. So it's cost people more in health care. These tariffs that the president has laid on people, strongly supported by my opponent, Michael Whatley, has added to the cost for small businesses and farmers. Pender in Wilson County is paying 20% more for his fertilizer and for his equipment. So he is struggling. And what I'd say to them is that obviously this administration doesn't care about you. The one big beautiful bill cares about the corporations and the billionaires, and you need people with a real plan. People can go to roycooper.com and can see our plan, making sure we shore up health care, providing the health care tax credits that were in place before, making sure that the United States Senate takes back its constitutional authority on trade and tariffs, make sure it takes back its constitutional authority on declaration of war. This president got us into a war in Iran. People already were struggling with higher utility costs and groceries and childcare and health care. And then this war made the price of gas and diesel skyrocket. So they have to be frustrated with Washington now and the chaos that's there. We need change in Washington. That's what I offer. I have a lot of experience here in North Carolina, having served not only in the state legislature and as attorney general and governor, but I also practiced law for 18 years and was in private practice. I have a wide range of experience, but I haven't been elected in Washington. I'm going to bring some North Carolina common sense to D.C., and I think I can help lead the way forward to pass legislation that really does lower costs for everyday people. And I think the people of North Carolina are going to trust me to do that at the end of the day.
We've been talking about the Supreme Court decisions that came down today. Most of them went against Donald Trump. One of them went in his favor. What's your sense of this? Because we used to depend on one branch of government, and as a lawyer, you know this, to sort of stand up for the rights of Americans. There are a lot of Americans who don't believe that this Supreme Court is doing its job. And as you pointed out, a lot of people who don't believe the United States Congress and Senate are doing their jobs.
Well, we got to restore the balance of power that the framers of the Constitution intended. Today, the Supreme Court, at least they protected the Fed. It was by one vote, but that was good. But the rest of this, the appointments to regulatory bodies and giving the executive, the president, free will to fire those people, you know who's going to lose? Everyday people are going to lose that. The working people are going to lose that. This is a decision that helps the powerful because the Federal Trade Commission, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the Consumer Product Safety Commission, these are regulatory bodies that are set up to judge cases where they can decide to protect people. And this is sort of like having an umpire who knows that one of the team can have him fired at any minute. Yep. And that's what you're going to have here with these regulatory positions, knowing, looking over their shoulder that they can be fired for the decisions that they make. They're going to side with the corporate interest and for the powerful interest instead of deciding for the people. This is just wrong and upset decades of precedent. Another thing we got to fix.
Governor, it's always good to see you. Thank you for being with us. You point out something that, as a guy who covers elections, we always have to remember. You can look at polls all you want, but the one that matters is going to be on November 3rd. We appreciate your time, as always. The former North Carolina governor and Democratic Senate candidate, Roy Cooper.